Horror movies are designed to scare you. Their intention is to keep you awake at night with what you've just watched replaying over and over again in your head. They make you fear the creaks in your home and shifting shadows. However, there are many horrors out there that failed at the horror aspect, and in turn became unintentional comedies. These are the top 5 horror movies that are laughably bad. Let's jump in. Coming in at number 5, we have Troll 2. It is surprising to literally no one that Troll 2 was making an appearance on our list. It is memed so hard and is so comically bad in the best way possible. Released in 1990 and directed by Claudio Fragasso, Troll 2 is a supernatural horror comedy starring the likes of Michael Stevenson, George Hardy, Margot Prey, and Connie McFarland, with it being a sequel to the 1986 horror movie Troll. Saying that though, the two movies have no connection to one another, with this movie featuring no trolls at all. Instead, the plot concerns a family who are pursued by goblins who seek to mutate them into plants in order for them to eat them. Yep, that's the whole plot. Now, you know there are always going to be issues when a movie is marketed as a sequel, when it really isn't a sequel at all, kind of like American Psycho and American Psycho 2. Very, very strange indeed. Production was also rife with issues, mostly due to language barriers with the Italian-speaking crew and the English-speaking cast. And of course, the approach to making the movie, which resulted in by far one of the worst films ever made. Even one of the stars of the film, Michael Paul Stevenson, who was just 10 years old during the making of it, looks back with no fondness whatsoever. He even stated, I quote, "It was the perfect maelstrom of events to create the unintentional comedy. Everyone wanted to make a good film and we failed." You can't replicate that. You certainly can't, nor should you. This is one of many films on our list that have inadvertently become cult classics, with many returning to Troll 2 each and every year for a good chuckle. In at number 4, we have the giant spider invasion. I hate spiders with a burning passion. I hate movies about spiders. I hate looking at them. I hate talking about them. Anyway, this movie is the exception because it is so damn funny. Released in 1975 and directed by Bill Rebane, The Giant Spider Invasion is a science fiction horror movie centering on giant spiders that begin terrorizing a small town in Wisconsin. Now, giant bug movies aren't new. They were a big hit back in the 50s, but they were just as cheesy back then. However, people loved them and found them incredibly entertaining. The Giant Spider Invasion is definitely trying to capture that feeling. However, they missed the mark with this one, with the plot being all over the place. The spiders aren't at all terrifying, with them instead inciting laughter every time they appear on screen. They resemble giant cuddly toys rather than something to be feared. Now, surprisingly, The Giant Spider Invasion became one of the top 50 grossing films of 1975, with it being regarded as a cult classic B movie. With a $300,000 budget, it successfully raked in $15 million at the box office, which is absolutely insane considering how laughably bad this movie is. Not to mention, according to director Bill Rebane, this is among the most pirated movies of all time. I'm shocked, to be honest. In at number 3, we have Birdemic, Shock and Terror. The fact that I get to discuss this movie makes me so incredibly happy. I mean, the title alone gives away how ridiculous and over the top this movie is. Released in 2010 and directed by James Nijian, Birdemic, Shock and Terror is an independent romantic horror film. Yeah, I bet you weren't expecting that. Starring Alan Barg and Whitney Moore. Never heard of them. The film is of course inspired by Hitchcock's The Birds and tells the story of a romance between Rod, a software salesman, and Natalie, an aspiring fashion model, as their small town is attacked by birds. Now, Birdemic, Shock and Terror was originally rejected from the 2009 Sundance Film Festival. However, James Nijian was determined to have it seen by the world, so he began promoting it on the side of a van with stuffed birds, fake blood, and flyers. This quickly earned the movie a cult status, landing on the front page of the New York Times and movie theaters. The movie has the same energy as The Room, and the same reaction from audience members. The audio is awful and just slightly off, and acting is stilted. The cinematography is a joke, and the story is completely laughable. Honestly, we need movies like this to get us through. You can't help but love them. You'll be cringing from start to finish, and you will be laughing and screaming at your TV. That's a promise. But trust me when I say you have to watch Birdemic, Shock and Terror. Coming in at number 2, we have The Happening. Now, yes, I'm very much aware that I've spoken about The Happening more than I probably should have on this channel, but yet here we are again, and I'm not upset about it. Simply because I love making fun of this train wreck of a movie. Released in 2008 and directed by M. Night Shyamalan, The Happening is a psychological horror starring the likes of Mark Wahlberg and Zooey Deschanel. Wahlberg plays a high school science teacher, Elliot, who inadvertently becomes the leader of a group trying to survive a bizarre event that results in people violently taking their own lives. Now, it all sounds very dramatic and quite scary, very Bird Box, but I loved Bird Box. That was actually a good movie. However, there is no mysterious monster that you can't look at. There actually isn't any monsters to speak of. The twist: the trees are responsible. Yes, the plant life has created a defense mechanism against humans, and now they're fighting back. Humans have killed the Earth for long enough, and now the Earth is killing them. Yep, that's the twist. Not only was the twist poor, but the execution was even worse and the acting was abysmal. There are so many meme-worthy moments of Mark Wahlberg saying such poorly written lines. Now, we shouldn't be completely surprised considering M. Night Shyamalan was already at a decline in his career at this point, with many believing he lost credibility after The Village. Personally, I loved The Village, and The Happening definitely made it look like an Oscar-winning movie in comparison. I believe the downfall came when Lady in the Water was released. Great soundtrack, great cast, but perhaps the most ridiculous story I've ever seen on screen. So dumb. And finally, coming in at number 1, we have Plan 9 from Outer Space. Now, I should preface this point by saying that not only does Plan 9 from Outer Space have a laughable reputation in the horror genre, but it's also considered to be one of the worst films ever made in history, and that's quite the accomplishment. Released in 1959 and written, produced, directed by Ed Wood, this independent sci-fi horror movie follows extraterrestrials who intend to stop humanity from creating a sort of doomsday weapon that would ultimately destroy the universe. Now, the plot to this movie is nuts in the funniest way possible. The aliens create a scheme, which is referred to as Plan 9. This involves resurrecting the Earth's deceased population, which are referred to as ghouls, and in turn cause chaos, which they hope will result in humanity finally listening to them. But if they don't, the aliens will destroy the human race with an army of the undead. Yes, this plot is absolutely insane. The movie is composed of cheap effects, truly terrible acting, and some of the worst writing I've ever seen. The film will most definitely make you laugh throughout, but that was not its intention in the slightest. Worse still, Ed Wood referred to Plan 9 from Outer Space as, I quote, his pride and joy, which is just as funny as the movie itself. On top of that, one of the more comical elements to this movie is that they promoted Bela Lugosi as one of the stars. And yes, he does have a guest star appearance, however, it is silent footage of the actor which was shot by Ed Wood for another project prior to Lugosi passing away in 1956. Honestly, this entire movie is one giant mess, but if you want to chuckle, I highly suggest you check it out. Well, there we have it. Do you guys agree with our list? Were there any terrible horror movies that we missed? Leave us your thoughts and feelings in the comments down below, and perhaps we can do a part 2. Before I go though, I just want to respond to a few comments from one of our last videos. Top 5 scary true stories from North America. Cobra Raptor said, I personally would like to see the Haunted Doll. Don't even need to travel to Minnesota since I live there. Well, I mean, that's on you. If you want to go visit the Haunted Doll, you do you. But if you died, that's your fault as well. Lord Wombat said, out of all the channels I like, this one is the one that gives me the most nostalgia. Oh, that's sweet. Nostalgia. Respect. The channel that does that for me is Thatcher Joe. I get so much nostalgia from him. But I'm glad you guys are getting nostalgia from us. That's very sweet. Warms my heart. I don't have a heart. Apathian Blaze said, Lucy, you're my favorite host. Keep up the excellent work, you beautiful dark queen. Thanks. I'm my favorite host as well. Just kidding. Anonymous Stranger said, I see Lucy, I drop everything I'm doing and watch the whole video. Just saying. Thank you, but you should also watch all the videos anyway. Even if I'm in it. But mostly if I'm in it. But I guess you can watch the whole video if Keegan's in it as well. I guess he deserves that. He deserves that much. The Mystic Realm said, Lucy, my beautiful dark queen, I'd love a shout out, please, doll. Well, there's your shout out. The Mystic Realms, you got it. Dana Fisher said, not Elsa being possessed. Yes, possessed Elsa made it onto my list. There's a real Elsa doll out there that is possessed by a demon. You can go visit her if you want. And on that note, if you haven't already, be sure to give this video a big thumbs up. And until next time, I'll see you later.